In a dramatic and unprecedented escalation of Middle Eastern tensions, Iran launched a massive missile strike on Tel Aviv, marking one of the most significant and dangerous military confrontations between the two countries in recent years. The attack, which occurred in the early hours of Tuesday morning, has resulted in widespread destruction, civilian casualties, and sent shockwaves through the international community. The strike was described by Iranian officials as a direct response to what they called Israel's betrayal, a reference to a series of alleged covert operations and broken diplomatic backchannels that Tehran claims crossed every red line. As Israeli defense systems struggled to intercept the barrage, Tel Aviv bore the brunt of one of the largest missile attacks in the city's history, reigniting fears of a full-scale regional war. The attack, a night of terror. The skies over Tel Aviv lit up with flames and sirens just after 3 a.m. local time. According to Israeli military officials, over 150 ballistic and cruise missiles were launched from Iranian territory, supported by additional rocket fire from Iranian proxies in Lebanon, Syria, and Gaza. The Israeli Iron Dome defense system managed to intercept a significant number of the incoming threats, but not all. Several missiles struck critical infrastructure, residential buildings, and civilian areas. A shopping mall in central Tel Aviv suffered a direct hit, resulting in dozens of injuries. An underground metro station collapsed under the force of the blast, trapping passengers who were using it as a bomb shelter. Emergency services are still working to rescue survivors from the rubble. Initial reports from Israel's Ministry of Health confirm over 200 injuries and at least 43 fatalities, though the numbers are expected to rise as search and rescue operations continue. Iran's justification: a betrayal we cannot forgive. Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei issued a rare public statement shortly after the attack, saying, "For years, we have tolerated Zionist sabotage and deception, but betrayal carries consequences. Israel crossed the line. Tonight, we responded." While Iranian officials did not detail what specific betrayal they were referring to, intelligence sources suggest the trigger was a covert Israeli operation that allegedly led to the assassination of a high-ranking Iranian Revolutionary Guard general last week in Syria. Iranian state media also claims Israel sabotaged recent nuclear negotiations through back-channel diplomacy with Western allies, particularly the US and the UK, undermining Iran's diplomatic efforts and regional standing. Furthermore, Iran accuses Israel of escalating espionage and cyber attacks targeting its nuclear facilities, a claim that has long been denied by Tel Aviv but supported by circumstantial evidence of past incidents, such as the Natanz nuclear facility sabotage in 2021. Israel responds, a declaration of war. Israeli Prime Minister Eli Bar-David, addressing the nation just hours after the attack, declared the missile strike a declaration of war by the Islamic Republic of Iran. "We will not allow this act of aggression to go unpunished. Our people have bled. Our homes have burned. Now, we will defend our sovereignty with strength, clarity, and unity." Israel's military command placed the entire country on high alert. Reservists have been called up in record numbers. Airstrikes were launched within hours of the Iranian attack, targeting missile launch sites, Revolutionary Guard bases, and suspected weapons depots across Iran, Syria, and Lebanon. Explosions were reported in the Iranian cities of Kermanshah and Bandar Abbas, while Hezbollah positions in southern Lebanon were bombarded by Israeli jets. The regional fallout: proxy fires ignite beyond the direct confrontation between Iran and Israel. The missile attack has further destabilized an already volatile region. Hezbollah in Lebanon, Iranian-backed militias in Iraq, and Hamas in Gaza all expressed solidarity with Iran and launched coordinated rocket attacks toward northern and southern Israel. Cities like Haifa, Ashkelon, and Sderot were hit, sending millions of Israelis into bomb shelters. Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, traditionally rivals of Iran, condemned the attack and called for an emergency Arab League summit. Jordan, caught in the crossfire, reported that several of the Iranian missiles passed through its airspace, raising fears that the conflict could spill into its borders. The U.S. Department of Defense announced that it was moving additional aircraft carriers and missile defense systems into the eastern Mediterranean to protect its regional assets and allies. President of the United States, in an emergency address, called the situation a powder keg that could ignite the entire region. Civilians caught in the crossfire. As the missiles rained down on Tel Aviv and beyond, it was the ordinary people who bore the heaviest burden. Hospitals in central Israel are overflowing with wounded civilians. Schools have been closed indefinitely. Families who once enjoyed relative peace in the urban heart of Israel now find themselves living in fear, many seeking refuge in underground shelters and bunkers. "I held my baby and ran when the first siren went off," said Sarah Azulai, a Tel Aviv resident. "I heard the explosion above us as we reached the basement. The windows shattered. This isn't defense anymore. This is war." Footage shared online shows emergency workers pulling bloodied civilians from the ruins of homes and offices, some buried for hours under concrete and steel. Global reactions, condemnation and caution. World leaders reacted with alarm and urgency. The United Nations Security Council convened an emergency session with Secretary General Antonio Guterres condemning the violence and calling for immediate de-escalation. "This is not just an Israeli or Iranian crisis, this is a global emergency," he warned. France, Germany, and the United Kingdom also denounced the missile strikes, with French President Emmanuel Macron urging both nations to pull back from the brink. Meanwhile, Russia and China called for a balanced approach, expressing concern over Western interference. Turkey's President Erdogan, traditionally critical of Israeli policies, surprisingly condemned the attack and called for a Muslim-led ceasefire effort. The Vatican issued a statement praying for peace and urging restraint, emphasizing the potential consequences for Christians, Muslims, and Jews alike in the Holy Land. The threat of escalation. War on the horizon? Analysts agree that the situation has entered a dangerously unstable phase. With direct military strikes between Iran and Israel now public and deadly, the possibility of full-scale war looms large. Israel has the capacity for a swift and devastating military response, but Iran, with its wide network of regional militias and allies, has multiple fronts from which to retaliate. Neither side wants an all-out war, but we are now in uncharted territory, said Dr. Ruben Adler, a geopolitical analyst at the Herzliya Institute for Security Studies. Deterrence may have failed, and we're witnessing the breakdown of years of shadow conflict containment. Already, oil prices have surged, global markets are jittery, and airlines are suspending flights to and from the region. The conflict threatens not just regional stability, but the global economy, trade routes, and diplomatic alliances. What happens next? Israel's security cabinet is currently weighing options for a decisive counteroffensive. Military analysts predict a multi-phase response. Cyber attacks against Iranian infrastructure, air raids on Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps assets, and possible surgical strikes on nuclear facilities, a move that could trigger a catastrophic escalation. Diplomatic efforts are underway behind the scenes. Qatar, Oman, and Switzerland have all offered to mediate, though trust between the two countries is virtually non-existent. The international community is calling for an immediate ceasefire, But both Iran and Israel appear resolute. For the citizens of Tel Aviv, Tehran, and countless cities caught in the web of conflict, the coming days will be critical. The hope for peace grows dimmer with each explosion, and unless cooler heads prevail, the region may soon descend into a war unlike any it has seen in generations. Conclusion: Iran's massive missile strike on Tel Aviv marks a dark chapter in an already volatile Middle East. The reasons behind the attack, whether seen as justified retaliation or unprovoked aggression, are steeped in decades of hostility, mistrust, and bloodshed. The response from Israel, regional militias, and the global community will shape not only the fate of the nations involved, but possibly the future of international relations in the 21st century. With each side vowing not to back down, and with civilians already paying the ultimate price, the world watches with bated breath. The message is clear. The time for diplomacy is vanishing fast, and unless a path to de-escalation is found, the fires of war may soon consume the Middle East once again.